Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you again, my dear friend, Natalie Levin. I love Natalie so much. I love her energy. I love her vibrancy, and I love her astrology. And that is why she is back at Synchronicity University. From the time that this is publishing, you've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class to learn from Natalie and these other incredible astrologers. But Natalie and I are about to get into it. So, Natalie, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I love hanging out with you. With my Venus in Aquarius, it feels really good to be with you.
Oh my God. Do you know, I was just going to ask you where your Venus is. I was being clever in my mind that, I'm going to ask her. She's not going to see it coming. And then she's going to laugh and be like, of course, yes, my hair. Look, Nadiya.
No, because we're talking in all the different realms at the same time. You and I really feel that.
And what degree is your Venus?
My Venus is at 3 degrees, so I'm having a Venus return right this moment.
I know. And I'm having Venus conjunct my sun right about now.
That makes a lot of sense with your attention to your beauty at this time and your skill with your, everyone always comments on your makeup. Like that's a thing.
Know. Like,
where is your Venus? Like, is your
Venus Capricorn? It's in Capricorn. Now it's at 1 degree Capricorn and my moon is 26 Sag. So they're like Antisha and they're like conjunct, but the signs are different. And I have very mixed feelings about Venus and Capricorn, actually.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. Because like beauty is work. That's the thing, right? But I do love it. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I do have Venus sextile my Uranus. So it's fun, but I know, yes, I watch many a tutorial.
Oh, you do. You work hard in the Venus realms.
Yeah.
For me, also, Capricorn, for me, feels like the most elegant and classy of the zodiac signs. So for me, every time I see the way you express your Venus in Capricorn, it's so precise. It's very elegant. It's never garish. It's just like, oh, wow. Like I admire it as a way that you are being an artist. You're expressing your artistry in that way. That's what comes up for me. I might be projecting onto you.
No, it's totally right. You're totally right. That's how I look at it. This is my art. And like, I've been home now. Like I love to travel. I have a Sag moon after all. So I love being in hotels and everything, but it just felt right these last few months to be home. And I'm really happy to be home, but I literally am in South Central Ontario, which is about as exciting as it sounds. I mean, it is. I just feel, and I shouldn't say this, it's an awful thing to say. And I promised myself I would stop saying it, but I'm going to tell you and everybody watching, it does sometimes, I do call it sometimes the sunken place. And I do that because it just really feels like it's this other world and it's like, not really anywhere. And it's like everybody around is just like, they're there for their kids and their families and they want to raise their kids somewhere safe in a big house. And so they're here. It's like the very outskirts edges of the suburbs of Toronto. And so to get downtown, it can take, depending on where I am downtown, 2 to 3 hours, depending on where I want to go to downtown Toronto. Yeah. It takes half hour to get to the train and then another hour and 10 minutes on the train. And then if I want to go somewhere else, I might need to take another train or an Uber or whatever. So it really can be like a thing, but it's good for me to get out of the house because I do have Cancer rising. I can isolate. And and it's cold. It's Canada. So I've been taking classes and I first took a sculpture class and I'll try to put a photo up. I'm sorry, I don't have it here, but you would be very proud of me because it's like a big eye and a heart and it's a vase and it's got eyes on the side and everybody was like, wow, look at you.
Whoa.
And now I'm making jewelry And so I made like this silver ring, like just that
Oh,
one I
that's
made.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Wow.
and it's just to use my brain in different ways, but it's all, yeah, just the art, loving art all around. I do love art, and I love surrealism, like Salvador Dali. He's my
Oh
favorite
my gosh,
artist.
I love Dali. When I'm teaching yoga, I will sometimes invite the students in the class, can you rest your upper body on your front leg as if you were a Salvador Dali ear or clock? And I don't know if people are understanding what I'm saying, but that's the feeling I want them to have in their bodies of totally, there's no effort. It's a complete release and letting go. So I use his imagery quite a lot when I'm teaching. So that's really gorgeous. I love how you bring in the art, and that is part of why I got so inspired to teach what I'll be teaching in Synchronicity University on January 4th, which is right after the new year. How exciting, because it feels like what I'm noticing for myself, and I'll bring my chart into this to express it. I am a Pisces sun, and my Mercury, my Pisces sun is at 15 degrees 36 minutes, and my Mercury is at 15 degrees 38 minutes of Pisces. So for me, and it's in the eighth house or the ninth, depending on the house system. And if you're listening to this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I invite you not to worry, because I will translate all of this into English if you happen to be taking my class. So I invite you to come anyway. If you're totally new, it will still make sense. You'll still get something out of it. So I have this, what it shows up for me is for me is like with all the Pisces and all, I'm always in every realm, all over in all of the different multiverses and timelines, and I'm receiving all of these images when I see people's charts, and it comes through often as colors and smells and images. And that's how I will sometimes I'll describe what I'm seeing to the client, and the client's like, oh my gosh, I just was thinking about that yesterday. And it's really, and so the way I don't actually hear angels and guides, but what I say is your guides and angels are inviting me to have the words that will make sense to you, so that you know they're hearing you and they're with you, and it's like an asterisk for you. So like pay attention to that. That could be something really important to note in your life as you go on. So it's been feeling really wonderful, and I want to invite others to know that they also have this ability, because everyone has Pisces somewhere in their charts, and that everyone has a 12th house, everyone has an 8th house, everyone has a 4th house. So what would it be like to invite yourself to say, to not say, oh, that's just my imagination? What if it's not just your imagination? What if you're actually receiving messages from, if all we, a lot of us, no, most of us only can see, hear, feel, and experience 4% of what is actually happening all the time. So if we allow that in, oh my goodness, like there's all of this realm behind me and around me that maybe I can't actually see, but I'm still receiving communication from there. And I feel like the astrology chart is like a scaffolding through which, like, it's boundaries, which is helpful for me as with all the Pisces energy. And my moon is in Cancer at 17 degrees. So trining my sun Mercury and in the 12th house. So it is hard for me to be on planet Earth.
Okay. 17-degree Cancer moon, 15-degree Cancer rising.
Oh my God, I know.
We
See, I
love
know
each other. We love
love
each
each
other.
other. We
Yes.
love each other. We're always talking. I feel you across the world, across this continent. And whenever I'm like, I know, I feel her. I feel her heart. And also, I think my North Node is somewhere dancing around for you, because my North Node is at 23 degrees of Aquarius.
Yeah. So it's not far from my sun, your Venus at all.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
oh, your Sag moon is at, oh, it's on the galactic center.
Yeah. Yeah.
My Mars is there. We have a lot
That's
of overlaps. We have so many synastries.
where's your Mercury again?
My Mercury is, I think it's Kazemi. Is that the word when it's at the same exact degree as my sun?
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Pisces at 15 degrees of Pisces.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
that isn't that fascinating. Now, this is how, for those of you who are like new to astrology, students of astrology, this is how astrologers talk.
yes, it's so
It's
much fun.
literally a language.
It
This is
is.
how we talk to each other. Like, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can
I
feel
love that.
really like so good when you like I've been working with I've about 2 years ago I started working in a new way with people if they were able to financially do this, which is like a 30-day container. And so we would go back and forth on like Voxer or WhatsApp. And one of these people who's has a ton of Sagittarian energy and wants to learn, she's been working with me like that for 2 years. And to hear her starting to speak astrology is so exciting and thrilling for me. Like, I have goosebumps even talking about it. And I'm like, look, you can do that. You can work with people now. You are empowered with this knowledge of, I mean, people see this as having like, you have a language of the divine that, yes, I know. I mean, for me, I did study and I learned and I listened to astrologers that felt resonant for me to learn the language. And then once it becomes organically part of you, you have access to this gold, and other people are like, will you tell me, please help me, I need support. And so the invitation I always want to, which I'm seeing happen with this client, is that she's able to now see that she has the gold within her too. It's gorgeous, and it really like dances in with I've been in Jungian analysis since I was 28, and um Jung talks about this idea of like that we all have gold somewhere in us, and it's really like, how do we find that? And it shows up in fairy tales, like the woman with the gold hair, you're spinning straw into gold. And I find astrology to be such a gorgeous support for me to find my gold and
Mm.
to like dance in the golden realms and also share the gold with others. And I want to, please feel free to interrupt me, but
I'm in. I'm
I
loving
have
this.
my Saturn, which is, those of you listening, it's my work. It's what my work is. My Saturn is in the 10th house, which is the house of career. I'm being very, like, I'm summarizing very curtly, and it's in Taurus. And Taurus can be related to the voice. And it's at 17 degrees of Taurus. So it's sextiling my moon and sextiling my sun.
Conjunct my south node. Oh, oh my God. Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh, we have to be in person together so I can give you a big
I
hug.
know,
That's
because
so
that would be
beautiful.
like you were my grandparent in a previous life. That's probably what it is. Like
Yeah.
you were in some way that structure provider, because yeah, I have found, like, I feel that connection with people so quickly
Hmm.
when especially my south node is being activated, but of course the north node as well.
Hmm.
People make all kinds of decisions, of course, but isn't it lovely to meet people where there is that genuine connection? It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. So my
There's a
Scorpio,
child there. Yeah.
there's, yes, my Scorpio 0 degree sun being is just going to be in the background because I'm a mama too.
Oh,
I'm a I'm
wow.
a Cancer rising,
When you
so
said before that you were a mom, I thought you were talking about a cat. I had no idea there was
no,
actually
there's
a kid
actually
in
a
your life.
human
That's
here.
wow.
There's a
Good
human.
for you. Do you like it? Do you love it?
I do, because this is a star seed being who has come with Pisces moon, conjunct my sun Mercury, and 0 degree Scorpio sun, which is just like, so with all my water, it's really easeful and delicious, and and I will be very honest, it's very big work. It's
Hmm.
really big work. And I'd say to people who come to me who, um, I'm just gonna, honey, Orion, will you back up so you're not so in the
Yeah, yeah, I totally
let
understand
me
that.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, there we go. Um, it can be like being in the fire of initiation day after day after day, because it requires, and for me, I have a lot of Sagittarian energy and I really love freedom, and it is that really shifts. Now, however, when he was born, my progressed son moved into Taurus. Thank all the angels. So I was like, oh, I'm okay being at home now. This is great. Like, I had 30 years of Aries progressed sun. So for those of you listening, the progressed chart, the way it bubbles up for me is it's the energy of one's life, like a life stage. When it Michael Luton, who is a dear soul brother of Nadiya and me, would always say, when it comes down to it, always go back to the sun sign. Forget the progress. Yeah, that's what he said. He said, always forget the progress sun, forget the moon, forget the rising, go back to the sun. That is your isness. And so that really sticks with me. And it can be an interesting experience when you start to learn about your progressed planets to think about, oh, so from age about 15 to 45, my progressed sun was in Aries, therefore my ruling planet was Mars. And I just went, that's when I lived in New York City. That's when I traveled the world. That's when I was an opera singer and traveling all over, and like an amazing yoga teacher. And it really matched with the New York City vibe. And then when my progressed sun moved into Taurus, it was like, okay, I'm ready to be home. I am a mother now. He came through the womb portal of my co-parent, so not of me, because I was older. And I also I'm honest about this now. I am on medication that helps me to stay in my body, because with my chart, it's hard to and I had like one long ago, I had an astrologer, and she's embarrassed that she said this to me now, but it was really helpful. She said, people with charts like yours can tend to have mental illness. And that was so relieving to me to feel like, oh my God, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. That's like all this water. It's 12th house moon, Pisces sun, Pisces Mercury, Cancer rising, Cancer moon, everything trining. And so, yes, I need, for this particular body, it is really helpful for me to have pharmaceutical support. And I am so grateful that it works for me, because it doesn't always work for everybody. So, for those of you listening, I am very supportive if and when you come to me and you're like, I don't know, I think I might need medication, but I don't want to take meds. And like, I'm like, you know what? If it helps you to stay here, and because being on this planet right now is not for the faint of heart. This is some
Mhm.
intense, it's
Yeah.
an intense situation going on. And a lot of beings are leaving their bodies right now. I'm noticing that. And our friend Michael Luton left and so those of you who are listening, he is such an incredible teacher, astrologer, human, so of service, and so for me, I felt such a soul connection to him. And so, and actually, my first astrologer who said that was the one who introduced me to him. And I'm so grateful. And I have his books here. And so he's here with me right in the living room. And I know that you had a connection with him too.
Oh, yes. I loved him so much, so deeply. I miss him.
Mhm.
He was just so giving of encouragement and love to everybody. It was only after he passed that I realized how many people had stories
Mhm.
about how loving Michael Luton has been.
Mhm.
And, I was saying to you that in January of 2020, I was speaking in New York City at the Theosophical Society. It was like a huge moment for my work. I was so excited and proud. And so I'm leaving the hotel. I'm crossing the road, walking up to this venue. And who should be there right in front of me? And I said, Michael Luton. He's like, hey. And I'm like, you came to my talk? And he was like, of course I did. I couldn't believe it. I was just so amazed that he gave that level of care and love.
Yeah.
And at that time, he wasn't, I mean, he was already getting older. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
he was zipping around New York
Mm-mm.
City. But the other thing was, over the last 3 years, I had a chance to work with him with Synchronicity University. And in
Mm.
2022, he had taught a full on 5-week course.
Wow.
And he said that this was really the first time that he'd ever used Zoom. And halfway through teaching this course, he had like a full on heart attack. Like he literally, and he had to stop for a few weeks. We had to take a break. And and then he came back and he was like calling me during this. Yeah, I had an attack, but I got to get back. I tell the students I'm going to be there. I said, yeah, don't worry about that. Take care of yourself. Take very good care of you. And, like I remember students were complaining like, oh, he's so cranky and he's yelling and stuff.
Mm.
And so then I had to start hosting it. And I was
Mm.
starting and saying to everybody, I was like, please be patient with us, right? I'd use that us so he knew I
Yeah.
was embracing him. And I
Yes.
say, this is a very new experience for Michael Luton, and we're so lucky to have him. He's so, so loving, but I get it, frustration with with that. And we're going to have to turn off the chat and we're going to have to do this and that to
Yes.
just try to create as comfortable a space for him as possible.
Yeah.
But my God, so many students who took that class talked about how they became a better astrologer over the course of those 5 classes.
Yes.
And then when I offered it again this summer, he had more health related issues. He couldn't do
Yeah.
the Q&A in May. He ended up doing it in July.
Yeah.
And I just that course being sold as downloads, so many students wanted it. So many students said amazing things about it. So
Wow.
there's just this sense that, wow, this person did something that meant so much to people and made their lives better.
Mm.
And what a beautiful, beautiful, incredible, loving soul.
Yeah.
They should all be that way. It's
Yeah.
inspiring to me. It makes me think about what
Yeah.
kind of person I want to be.
Yes. And it makes me really hold this, even this, like he would call this a frame, even the you and me together in this energetic container is so important. And I always I always knew that if I said anything to him, it would stay with him. And I really endeavor to hold that kind of sacred space for people. Like I say to them, everything we talk about is confidential and I hold everything very sacredly. And I do feel that when I'm looking at your chart, it is a snapshot of your soul. So it's quite intimate, this work that we're doing. And then people sometimes are very surprised at the emotion that will bubble up for them around the sessions. And I'm like, oh, yes, I am so thrilled that you have access to your tears. What an amazing gift and superpower to allow this element of water to move to and through your body. So to really be permission giving around emotion, which our society does not necessarily do.
Mhm.
It's real. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you put that. I mean,
Mm.
you're just so poetic. I love it so
Oh,
much. And that's why I think like because you're going to be teaching about metaphor and
yes.
muse and how
Yes.
perfect for you to be teaching that because so
Mm.
far so much of what you said has been about the embodiment of these very things. And so
Mm.
I'm curious about muse. Can you define that? I mean, of course I know what it means, but I would love to hear your definition and like how does that play into being an astrologer?
Mm. Okay, let me lean into that. Um, I'm I see I'm beginning to see the planets. Each one is a muse for me. Each one has some incredible inspiration that it wants to impart to me. It vibrates somewhere in my being. Every planet has a different color. Um, they inspire me to work to challenge myself to translate what they're saying into language that can meld to the specific being with whom I'm communicating. And I know that because of my planet of how my mind works and how I communicate. I close my eyes. It helps me to the images come through more easily that way. So my planet Mercury, who is the messenger of the gods, and he invites how I communicate and how my mind works, and he's intertwined with my sun, which is this body that contains 1.3 million Earth's worth of energy in our solar system. So that's a lot of communication intertwined with enormous energy vibrating and answering to both Jupiter, which is the biggest, because Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. Jupiter, the biggest planet in our solar system. You could fit 1,000 planet Earth into Jupiter. And Neptune, who is Poseidon, and he dives into the most magical realms of the oceans and these places that our machines cannot even go because the pressure is so dense that it will crush the machines. So there are some creatures living down there. We do not even know what they look like or what they can do. So here I am having all of that going on. And so it's like when a butterfly flaps its wings on the other side of the planet, something over here is affected. And therefore, with all of the sensitive energy that my soul blueprint has, I really can feel, your Venus is vibrating over there in Aries, and she's talking to your Saturn up here in Sagittarius, and this is how it's all coming together and what it might feel like for you. Oh, client who has no idea what Saturn and Venus even mean. And so then they're like, what I'm really starting to lean into is they feel the vibrations of the planets through me. I feel like that is like a tuning fork. It feels like that. And so, and the muse is related to poetry, to music, to art, to Monet's water lilies, to impressionism, to Salvador Dali. It's art, and art comes in Jungian analysis, which is very deeply important to me. And also Carl Jung loved astrology and used it with his clients. He talks about the creative libido. So it is related to the sexual libido, but both are creative. And so this creative font that we all have, but some of us are not able to access it with ease, perhaps because of inhibitions or a loud Saturn that says, oh, don't do that. Like for me, Saturn, this is what Saturn feels like. Tell me what you think of this. I feel like he's like worried. You're an antelope and you're in a giant herd of antelope on the plains, and you smell a little different than the rest of the herd. And the rest of the herd is like, oh, we're abandoning you, and you're left all alone on the plains, and then you are really, really susceptible to the lion who's going to come and eat you. I feel like Saturn is worried about that antelope, and Saturn is like, no, let's fit in, mind your P's and Q's, do what the next right thing is, and keep within the structure. And so when I see that's loud for people, that they don't feel comfortable to express themselves more Uranian. Wait, honey, shh, 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 shh. I can invite them to talk to their Saturn and say, you know what? I'm safe. I have a roof over my head. I have food to eat, and I'm not going to get eaten by the lion. So you can rest, Saturn.
I need that right now because Saturn is squaring my Mars right now as we speak. And yeah, it was squaring my Mars earlier this summer when I had my Chiron return. And I literally believe Chiron had to be so literal to hit me over the head that I got smacked on the butt. Like literally, that's what happened. I guess smacked on the butt, and I was on bed rest for 2 months because I
Right.
had an injury. Yeah, yeah. And so the
Oh
fact
my
that Saturn was
gosh.
squaring Mars at the same time, it just took the healing, just dragged on and on. And it was like, oh, and now here's like the last square happening right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, love and wisdom, love and wisdom. No, move on already. Come on now. I thought it'd be okay because Saturn's also trining my ascendant, but Mars is so important in healing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Where is your Mars?
Mars is 15 of Gemini.
Oh, okay.
Jupiter is
Oh.
right there right now.
Yeah,
I
I
just
know. It
realized it's
totally is. You're
exactly
having,
to the minute.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
And look,
really, that's nice.
yeah, bringing healing, right? That burst of
Hmm.
healing into to
Hmm.
what we're doing here. Yeah.
And a lot of like expansion also through uh the downloads that I feel like a lot of my Gemini people are always hearing so many voices all at once, and they're like they don't understand that other people don't have like supercomputer minds like they do. And I'll be like, I'm like, listen, you have an extra bunch of downloads happening right now because Jupiter's in your sign, and it can be a lot, and it's really expansive and amazing. Like I tend to move. It's hard. I have a harder time like saying this is a really I never would say this is a difficult transit. I would never say that. I say that looks like that looks really intense, and I want, and what is that like for
It's
you?
the
Like,
same thing. I love you. I love you. I know because certain words can be like triggers, right?
mhm,
But it's like this balance between because I know that I always want to be hopeful and
mhm,
positive and
yeah,
loving. It's very important to me that people have
yes,
hope. But
yes,
I have learned over the years that sometimes you just got to say it. And it's
yeah,
good that you say intense because
yeah,
it's the same way it's saying it's tough.
yeah,
It's the same thing as saying it's tough.
yeah.
And strangely, people find it validating,
Oh
you know.
yes,
But I have learned to say, look, this is coming up and this is tough. I want to be straightforward with you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When I see a difficult transit approaching, I'll say, I'm curious, in addition to this session that you and I are having, what other kinds of support do you have in place? Like, I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have 12-step recovery, I have group therapy. What do you have set up? And they're like, usually like, "Arr," and I'm like, okay, now might be a good time to start to explore some of that.
Yeah.
Because when I know for me, if it's a Pluto transit, Pluto's the one that really, Saturn is I mean, I'm having Saturn just going back and forth over my sun Mercury right now. And what that has looked like is, and if I go by equal house, my sun Mercury's in the eighth house, I am exploring, um, I had my very first financial planning session of my whole life, and I'm 53. I know. I just have buried my head in the sand
I don't
this
think
whole.
I've ever had one, to be
Oh
honest.
my gosh, we have to talk. Okay. Because
We're
we
so
work in
alike.
Canada.
It's
No,
wild.
I'm
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the I got
Yeah.
so inspired because this company does it for free. It's free financial planning sessions. And I was like, I'm no family left behind. So no matter how much debt you're in, we will work. Like, I was like, I want to do this too as like another form of income. And so my Saturn at 17 degrees of Taurus in the 12th, in the 10th house is now getting activated. I've done the opera thing. Taurus rules the voice. So I'm an opera singer. And now I'm like, oh, and Uranus in the 10th house too, waking up, maybe I also can bring in the language of money into my career. And it feels actually really in alignment with the astrology because I can work with people and say this might be a helpful way for you, blah blah blah. Look at your second house or your eighth house. And the eighth house I just learned through Ann Orderly, who's another astrologer who I really enjoy. Her technical analysis is brilliant. Um, the eighth house rules life insurance. I did not know that. And that's like part of what I'm working with. So the Saturn transit has been fantastic for me. I've been really, so Saturn, it can get a bad rap, but I'm like, thank you for stepping me into adulthood at 53.
Yeah, right. Saturn, I get it. Saturn can be tough, but my goodness, does Saturn ever help manifest?
Mm.
And I am like so grateful for that. I remember before Saturn went into my eighth, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And I started going to therapy right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything changed. There was a
Yes.
massive rebirth that took place. Every way that the eighth house can play out, it happened. But it was wonderful on the other side. I was like, wow, look at this. This is real. My life is like the real deal now.
Yeah.
And that was a very powerful thing. Yeah.
I've heard that he often leaves a really big gift.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I'm feeling really
a better
grateful.
Credit score. That's the great gift I got, was a better credit score.
Me too. I declared bankruptcy.
Very eighth house, yeah.
I declared bankruptcy in when Pluto first entered Capricorn, and my credit was 0 or whatever it could be, and now it is. I don't know if this will mean anything to people around the world, but it's 760. It's
Yay.
fabulous.
Yeah.
So this is also an example, everyone, that there's always hope. The planets are always moving. Even if you think that it's just like there's no hope, there's always hope. The planets are always moving. Even if you're having a horrible day, it's possible that like in the next hour the moon will change signs and you will feel differently.
That's true. Yeah,
it's really
so true.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love talking to you.
I love talking to you too. I'm sitting here like, oh my God, I love talking to her. It's so much fun. I'm like thinking, okay, what can we leave people with? Because I mean, you and I, we just hang out. We have so much fun.
Yeah.
We started off by talking about Venus. I mean, I don't think that this is really the thing. Maybe we don't need to talk about Venus. We love each other. We know that. But because your class is about muse, let me ask you this. One thing that people can identify in their chart that would help them contact their muse, like today, one thing, what would you suggest? Because you mentioned Mercury earlier.
Yeah, I think Mercury.
But there are other things. Yeah.
I think Mercury. I also feel like diving into, because Mercury might not be so familiar for people, I wonder about is it possible to dive into your moon? It's like because it's feminine, and the muse for me feels feminine. It also, because the moon changes signs every 2.5 days, perhaps the listeners can remember that they are mutable as well. So your muse, what inspires you one day, might be turned off the next day, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that star's inspiring me. Oh, look at this plate, it's inspiring me. Oh, I love that car. Oh, that child is so cute. Oh my gosh, this book is so amazing, depending on where the moon is. So for me, my Cancer moon feels very inspiring, because I know that I can feel everyone's feelings. That's part of like Cancer moon in 12th house energy. And so therefore I often, that feels like a way, an entryway for people to start to dance with what inspires me, what lights me up, what makes me want to like work, but it doesn't feel like work, like it's super fun. Yeah, that's what's bubbling up for me. Is something else bubbling up for you?
Well, no, I love that you said the moon. I mean, look, I have the moon in the 6th house. So yeah, for me, the moon is so much about work.
Yes.
But it's so true, right? Because I really think if you are emotionally honoring your emotional needs, so much of everything else has a way of falling into place.
Yes.
And I think that it is powerful to contemplate that it is like all the planets have nodes, but it's the nodes of the moon that we hold in a very special place that has been used for so many millennia, really, by astrologers. who have
Mhm.
sought to understand the symbolism that much more deeply, how they are deeply karmic points, but they are ultimately a key part of the larger journey that the moon takes. And so
Yeah.
I've always thought that the moon is a powerful pathway to what the soul, what the nodes represent, which is the soul contract, the soul promises you made in this
Yes.
lifetime. What were you going to let go? What were you going to move forward from? What were you going to do? What did you want more of? What people did you want to have enter your
Mm.
life? And
Mm.
the moon does point the way, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really
Ooh,
does.
I love that. I love how you
Yeah.
connect it into the nodes. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes. For
That's
me, I
like,
call the nodes like your life mission, like what you're trying to master in this lifetime. And there's never an ending. It never ends, but we give it a whirl. So for me, like my North Node in Aquarius in the seventh house, and my South nodes in Leo in the first house, and I started off as an opera singer, so being very, very comfortable on stage. Like I'm just like "Brr, brr, brr, brr," Leo in first house, and I've
I
already
love
done
it.
that. Like I didn't. So now the invitation is, can I? Oh, I'm doing astrology. The astrology is ruled by Aquarius. I'm in the seventh house. That's one-on-one contract work with people. It's really, really exciting. I'm like, I'm doing
Yeah.
my North Node.
I love it. I love that you're tapping into the power of your node, and there's just so much power in tapping into the chart itself, isn't there?
It's
It is incredible. We are so fortunate to have this amazing tool of
yes,
astrology. I absolutely love it.
me
Well,
too.
Natalie, I love you so much. Once again, everybody, Natalie Levin is coming back to Synchronicity University as part of the January 2025 speaker series. I wonder if I said 2024 earlier, but yeah, it's 2025.
I know.
What
Yes.
huge things are coming up this
Oh
year. And
my
so
gosh.
this is a wonderful class to
Mm,
like get your inspiration right, like
mm,
right out of the door. And
mhm.
so as we are recording this and publishing it, you've got just a little time left to choose your tuition rate. There's always just $5 a class to learn from Natalie and so many others. So, Natalie, thank you for being here. I love talking to you always, always.
Me too. I love you. I'm so happy to be with you. What a treat.
Thank you again, Natalie. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.